I can explain it. I don't understand it, but we'll see if I can explain it. While we're waiting for folks to come up, this young lady just asked me what is the National Day of Mourning. The Indians in this area believe that because they were so poorly treated by the Europeans, that Thanksgiving shouldn't be a day of Thanksgiving, but it should be a day of mourning because of their poor treatment. I have a problem with some relationships in other parts of the country, but not here. We had a peace treaty that lasted 55 years. We did not treat the Indians poorly. But if you want to get attention for your cause, you do it in Plymouth on Thanksgiving Day. So they think we should not have a day of Thanksgiving. I do not, but that is why they do it up here, and that's what a National Day of Mourning is. 102 came on the Mayflower, 51 died the first winter. At the time, the Pilgrims did not know what type of a relationship they'd have with the Indians, so they buried their 51 friends at night, so the Indians would know how many of them died. And they buried them on a little hill right along the ocean. The hill we are standing on is where the first 51 Pilgrims were buried. And their friends did a very good job. The bones stayed in this hill for a little over 100 years. But then we had a spring like we've had this spring, a lot of rain, all the bones got washed out of the hill. They collected them, put them in the attic above Plymouth Rock where they remained for many years. But we changed the portico and removed the attic. What do you do with the bones of 51 people? You put them in a box called a sarcophagus, so when folks come to town they can visit. Our 51 Pilgrims are inside that box. Whoa, folks, got a little problem with the box. Look at that. Box says 104 came on the Mayflower. I keep telling you 102. Well, which one of us is right?
You are.
You are a diplomat. Run for office. I like you. You will get votes. However, we're both right. Two were born at sea. Oceanus Hopkins was born halfway across the ocean, so they named the poor kid Oceanus. Imagine that. Yeah. Peregrine White, Provincetown Harbor, vaulted that population up to 104, but 51 still did die that first horrible winter. Two of whom, by the way, were Edward Winslow's wife Elizabeth and Peregrine White's father William. Within 2 months, Susanna White and Edward Winslow were married to each other. We had to keep the community going. And by the way, folks, a few years ago I did have the privilege of marrying a couple in the house that Edward Winslow and Susanna White lived. So I got to marry a couple in the house of the first married couple in Plymouth. Pretty cool. We are now headed for Leyden Street, the original site of Plymouth Plantation, but folks, it has not always been called Leyden Street. When the Pilgrims came here and built their plantation, it was called the Street. It was the only one. 2 years later, they threw another street in, so they changed the name to First Street. Unbelievable. We call it Leyden Street because Leyden, Holland is a town in Holland the Pilgrims migrated from. By the way, I just told you two were born on the Mayflower. Did you folks know that only two died on the Mayflower? One sailor, one Pilgrim. Everybody else died here. Pilgrim's name, William Bunton, servant to the doctor. His job on the Mayflower, give a lemon or a lime every single day to every passenger so they would not get scurvy. And folks, the man did a great job. Unfortunately, Mr. Bunton didn't like the taste of lemons or limes, never took his own, and the man died of scurvy. The one sailor, the boatswain's mate, he hated the Pilgrims. It was a rough crossing. They were sick for the whole trip. So they'd stand in the hold of the Mayflower, hold hands, pray, and sing hymns. That drove the boatswain's mate nuts. He couldn't stand it. Finally looked at him and said, I cannot wait until you fools die, and I can put your bodies in a shroud and dump you into the ocean, you hymn-singing puke stockings. Yeah, well, the next week he died. Pilgrims put his body in a shroud and dumped him into the ocean, and to this day, nobody knows what killed him. But I will tell you this, not one sailor had another word to say for the rest of the trip.